I drove my wife and her secret lover 17 times as an Uber driver. They rated me 5 stars every time and never knew it was me. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you've ever taken a side gig to make ends meet and thought, what are the odds? This story is going to make your stomach drop. It's one of the most insane, painfully real cheating stories I've ever come across. It happened to a guy named Chris, 39, a regular dad in a medium-sized city in Michigan who started driving Uber to help pay the bills. Everything here could happen to any married couple scraping by in 2025. Shared calendars, late-night work events, and that one app that tracks every mile. No exaggeration, no movie tropes. Just the kind of slow-motion car crash that unfolds in ordinary neighborhoods every single day. If you've ever driven for rideshare or wondered who's really in the back seat, buckle up. This one hurts. My name is Chris. My wife Rachel and I had been married for 11 years. 2 kids, 8-year-old Noah and 5-year-old Mia. I worked full-time as a warehouse supervisor. Rachel was a marketing coordinator for a local hospital. Money was always tight after the kids came. Daycare, soccer, ballet, the usual. Last year the transmission in my truck died and the repair bill was $4,800. That's when I downloaded Uber. Nights and weekends only, just enough to cover the extra stuff. Rachel thought it was a great idea. "You'll meet interesting people," she said, kissing my cheek. "Just don't pick up any pretty girls." I laughed. I trusted her completely. The first few months were normal. Drunk college kids, airport runs, tired nurses getting off late shifts. I kept the car clean, played light music, and wore a baseball cap low because the kids always said I looked like a dad trying too hard. Rachel and I barely saw each other during the week anymore. She had late strategy meetings twice a week, and sometimes on Saturdays. I'd get home around midnight, she'd already be asleep. We texted "love you" and called it good. Then, in March, I picked up a ride that felt off. The app pinged me at 9:47 p.m. Pickup at the new boutique hotel downtown. 2 passengers going to a residential address I recognized instantly. Our street. The names on the app were Rachel P. and Guest. I almost declined the ride because I was exhausted, but money is money. I pulled up, headlights off like most drivers do at night. The back door opened. Rachel slid in first, laughing that laugh she only does when she's a little tipsy. Behind her was a guy I knew, Mark, her coworker from the hospital marketing team. I'd met him at the company picnic last summer. Tall, funny, the kind of guy who always remembered the kids' names. They both climbed in without looking at me. Rachel was wearing the red dress I bought her for our anniversary, the one she said was too fancy for real life. I kept my cap low, mask up, I still wore one after the pandemic, and said the usual, "Evening, folks. Where we headed?" in the slightly deeper voice I use for rides. They didn't even glance at the rearview mirror. Rachel rattled off our exact address like it was any other drop-off. Mark's hand was resting on her knee the whole ride. She didn't move it. They talked like I wasn't there. About how Chris works so much he barely notices when I'm gone. How Mark's wife was completely checked out. How this was the only time they felt alive. Rachel laughed and said, "He actually encouraged me to do more girls' nights. Can you believe that?" Mark kissed her neck right there in my back seat and whispered, "Best decision you ever made." I gripped the wheel so hard my knuckles went white. 17 minutes later, I dropped them 3 houses down from ours so the neighbors wouldn't see. Rachel tipped me $12 and rated me 5 stars. The app notification popped up while I was still parked around the corner. Rachel P. says you're the best driver she's had all year. I sat there until 2 a.m. throwing up in a Walmart parking lot. That was ride number 1. I started checking the app obsessively. Every Tuesday and Thursday, same pattern. Rachel P. plus guest to the same hotel or an Airbnb on the east side. Sometimes they'd request me specifically because that quiet dad driver is reliable. They'd get in, make out in the back, complain about their spouses, and tip me like I was their personal chauffeur. Once they even talked about how they'd started the affair 6 months earlier during a work conference in Chicago. The same weekend I'd stayed home with the kids because Rachel said the flights were too expensive for the whole family. I recorded every single ride on my phone. 17 rides over 4 months. 17 times I drove my wife and her lover while they thought I was just some random Uber guy. They even gave me a nickname, Cap Guy. Mark once joked, Cap Guy probably goes home to a wife who doesn't appreciate him either. The final ride was the one that broke me. It was a Saturday afternoon. Rachel had told me she was taking the kids to her sister's for the day so I could finally relax. Instead, the app pinged, pick up at our house. I almost declined, but I had to know. I pulled up. Rachel came out alone first, then Mark slipped out the side door of our garage like he'd been hiding inside. They climbed into the back of my own car, the one I drive my kids to school in, and started kissing before I even pulled away from the curb. Halfway to the hotel, Rachel said, God, I wish Chris would just disappear sometimes. Life would be so much easier. Mark laughed and replied, Don't worry, babe. We'll figure it out. I dropped them off, drove around the block, and sat in the hotel parking lot until my hands stopped shaking. Then I went home, packed a bag for the kids and me, and waited. Rachel walked in at 11 p.m. smelling like hotel soap and Mark's cologne. I was sitting at the kitchen table with my phone. I played the recordings, all 17 rides, on the Bluetooth speaker. Her face went ghost white when she heard her own voice saying she wished I would disappear. She tried every line in the book. It's not what it sounds like. We were drunk. You were never around. I just slid the printed Uber receipts across the table, dates, times, exact locations, and the 5-star ratings she'd given me while making out with another man in my back seat. Mark got fired the next week after I sent the hospital HR the recordings. Rachel moved out 2 days later. The kids still don't fully understand why Mommy doesn't live here anymore, but they know Daddy drives Uber sometimes and that we don't talk about the man from Mommy's work. I kept the car. I still drive nights. Every time a woman named Rachel pops up on the app, I decline the ride. I've never told my friends the full story, it's too humiliating. But I kept every single 5-star review she and Mark gave me. I look at them on bad nights as proof that sometimes the person destroying your life is the same one thanking you for the smoothest ride they ever had. The craziest part? Rachel still uses Uber. She just doesn't know her soon-to-be ex-husband is the one who's been keeping her and her boyfriend safe on the road this whole time. If you've ever driven rideshare, or if you've ever had that sick feeling that something in your marriage isn't right, trust your gut. Sometimes the stranger in the front seat knows more about your life than you do. Drop your own insane cheating or side gig horror stories in the comments, the ones where the truth came from the last place you expected. I read every single one, and you're not alone. Sometimes the person driving you to your secret hotel is the same person you swore you'd spend forever with. Thanks for listening to this one. If it made you want to check your spouse's Uber history tonight, hit that like button. Subscribe for more real-life stories that feel too crazy to be true, and turn on notifications. Drive safe out there. You never know who's in the back seat.